Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar about online black belt training that equals the classroom experience. I am Mallory, and I'm going to get us started before we turn it over to our presenters. We have a few logistical things to cover. This webinar is scheduled for 1 hour. We may go over if we have a lot of questions, but all of the content will be covered within 1 hour. All of our participants are muted, so we will not be able to hear you. So please text in any of your questions through the GoToWebinar system. We'll be happy to answer them as we go, as well as at the end. So again, please don't hesitate to send your questions in throughout the webinar. We will also be following up with you. So if you do not wish to be contacted by someone from Smarter Solutions, just let us know at the exit survey at the end of the webinar. We are also recording today's webinar, so for all of our registered attendees, you will receive an email in 24 to 48 hours with access to see the recording. Now I'll get started introducing our presenters. One of our presenters that will present a little bit later is Chris Perret. He drives Moresteam's business development efforts, helping organizations improve the quality and effectiveness of their Lean Six Sigma training programs through the implementation of blended training. Chris joined Moresteam in August of 2008. Prior to that, he spent over 7 years with Minitab as the Senior Lean Six Sigma Business Development Coordinator, managing Minitab's relationships with the leading Lean Six Sigma consulting and e-learning providers. His previous experience involved implementing technology solutions for transportation, distribution, and third-party logistics industries. Chris was trained as a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt in 2002 and has an undergraduate degree in business logistics and supply chain management from Penn State. First, we will hear from our own Rick Haynes from Smarter Solutions. Rick is a 20-year Lean and Six Sigma practitioner and one of Smarter Solutions' senior instructors. Through his career, he is certified as a Master Black Belt and Champion, as well as Yellow Belt, along with teaching and certifying professionals in all the Lean Six Sigma areas. His personal Lean Six Sigma work has spanned nearly all business sites, including manufacturing, transactional, along with research and development business. He is a master's degree statistician and has taught statistics in the Penn State University system. He has worked in all levels of business from entry level up to site engineering manager. Now I'll turn it over to Rick to get started on today's webinar. Thanks again for joining.
Hello, everybody. It's exciting to be here. Chris and I have been working for a long time to put this together. I'm going to go a little bit through the history of the e-learning, self-paced learning, or blended learning, whichever you choose to call it. Chris is going to talk about Moresteamcom, a great company that we're working with to do this. Then we'll look a little bit about our online course that we're introducing with this webinar, talk about how we're going to manage certifications through it, then a wrap-up. Being that most of us, the whole concept of an online Lean Six Sigma course is new, most of us have seen it as an instructor-led or face-to-face stand-up training. You may have an awful lot of questions about not only about what's covered, but how we cover things. Chris and I are going to go through some of the hows we teach stuff as we go through the middle of the webinar. But you will get more out of this by asking questions, just like you would if we were talking face-to-face. So as Mallory said, please feel free to type in questions. We're going to start off with a question. Being that we're all Lean Six Sigma professionals on this side of the computer, we want to go look at a before and after question going through. So our first question is, how do you right now judge the ability to provide Lean Six Sigma instruction through an online course to replace instructor-led training? So it's a little Likert scale here, picking between I really think it's not going to do as well to I really think it's going to do better. Please check the one that's appropriate. Now what we're doing here is we're looking, and you're going to see we've got about 10 seconds here for you to click on your button, and then we'll post the results. So we're getting there. Mallory's put it on the screen for you. See, about the same or a little bit lower were the winners of this horse race. what's interesting, and you couldn't see, is the early choosers all thought about the same, and less than came up to the tie at the finish line. And significantly lower is in there. I hope at the end you might change that opinion. Right now, as we've been working through our students, as this has been running, guess what, Mallory, about a month or two, since we've got it up and taken it out of the test and pilot phase into actually using it. The students that we're going through are equal or better than what I'm seeing from this amount of contact in an instructor-led position. But we're going to talk about it here. At first, I'd like to start with Smarter Solutions history at this. We're a business improvement, Lean Six Sigma type company. This was our 4th try at non-instructor-led training. Some of this before I joined the company. But way back, Forrest Beifogel, the owner, was representing or selling a third-party laser discs with a training program on it to clients that didn't want to pay for an instructor. It admitted transition from laser discs to CDs back in the 90s. All right. Most of you are going, what's a laser disc, I'm sure. Looked like a record, but it had video on it. But it was really a self-paced training program that you took by yourself or in a group in a conference room and watched a video presentation. In the 2000s, things got better, and they started using with some of the clients a third-party online training, which was actually used over the internet, where you answered questions and watched presentations that were built with video. In both those cases, the clients enjoyed the cost savings of it, but never were really happy about the quality of maybe the knowledge of the students and their ability to apply the tools when they went away. Since I've been here, option 3 came up. And I forgot to note on the lower left, the PDCA cycle, which we really believe in here. We made a plan, we make the test, try it, we check the results, analyze it, and move on. The third one came about after I joined, where we said there is still a motivation by good companies not to have to travel to a class or pay for travel. At the time, Villanova had just started their distance learning program that everybody watched basically online courses or videos. And that's a relatively simple thing to start off. It's just the time of the instructor. So we held what we'll call a live online Greenbelt class. So it was live sessions that you were there on, or you could watch recorded later, that you had a discussion with the students. But it was like looking at a computer screen versus the projector screen and asking questions. It went quite well on the instructor side, but when we got through the analysis later, out of the class we only got 1 certification. Most people didn't care much or didn't change their business performance because of it. So we ended that pilot test and said that wasn't enough. It was about 9 months ago we decided it was time for another try. Searched the industry and picked Moresteam to work with. We decided there was the tools and technology to do a very interactive self-paced session. With everybody out there, we worked with Moresteamcom to join our stuff together to get both the Smarter Solutions view of Lean and Six Sigma, as well as Moresteam.com innovative training methods. So we built this partnership. We thought that they had by far the best Lean Six Sigma training tool sets out there. And there are a handful, and almost everybody will let you license them, but if you go through them, and I guess at least the hard thing, with online training, you really can't experience it until you pay the money. The advantage we had is everybody let us go through their stuff to see which worked, and you're going to have to trust us that that's a very good set of material. What we also joined with is what we believe is the best set of reference material. One of the things about online, it's just online. So we took the Moresteam stuff, integrated with our Integrated Enterprise Excellence textbooks, so that we had a course that both had video presentations but printed material that was both supportive with exercises, examples, and other explanations. The third point we got to is what we saw out there in industry is there was individualized pure online training, which you basically self-paced on your own. When you're done, you have a certificate of completion. And there was the easier of the blended learning, which you do a bunch of online material, but then still travel to a central location for one instructor-led class. Our goal was to give the advantage of that type of model where you have interaction and online self-paced training, but we tried to do it so you didn't need a whole classroom event. But we've put together one that's actually individualized with a very structured coaching process with good MBBs, so that you end up getting with the same experience you would have gotten in an instructor-led class, and I'm starting to believe possibly better, because you get a little more individualized attention. So this course we put together can work for individuals and in groups or waves if you want to do it within a single company. Now Chris is going to talk a little about Moresteam, and we've asked him to come in, and this is a partnership. He's going to talk about everything they offer, because it's still a good company to deal with if you choose not to follow our program. Chris?
Thanks, Rick. Well, my name is Chris Perret. I'm Vice President of Sales of Moresteam, as Mallory indicated in the introduction. I'm going to spend a little bit of time now just talking about who we are as an organization, and then later on I'll spend time walking you through the e-learning course so that you can understand the type of content that we provide that we feel and know is very unique in the industry and is able to offer a good solution to support blended programs. So Moresteam.com, we consider ourselves a technology provider in the Lean Six Sigma space. We're not a consulting firm. We're not like Smarter Solutions, where we have consultants going out and conducting training and coaching and mentoring belts to execute projects. Our focus is to develop technology solutions to help organizations improve their Lean Six Sigma programs. Our flagship offering is our online training. And that was the product that we have, but we've kind of advanced our product set to support a lot of other technology needs within Lean Six Sigma deployments, which I'll talk about. But we were founded in 2000 by Bill Hathaway, who's the president of Moresteam. And at the time, we became the first firm to offer the complete black belt body of knowledge online. At this time, we also have the only design for Six Sigma curriculum available online, as well as foreign language green belt curriculums in Chinese, Spanish, Portuguese, and German. We serve over 50% of the Fortune 500 and have trained over 350,000 Lean Six Sigma professionals at various levels. So we have over 250 some hours of Lean Six Sigma content, ranging from introduction to Lean Six Sigma all the way through yellow belt, green belt, black belt, and design for Six Sigma curriculums. Our courses were reviewed and approved by ASQ, so we're the provider through ASQ for Lean Six Sigma e-learning curriculums. And we also have academic partnerships with Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Cal Poly, where they use our curriculums in their undergraduate and graduate programs. And we also consider ourselves a thought leader in the advancement of blended training. So our approach really is to help organizations use e-learning courses as one component of a more comprehensive training program. So although our courses are the full body of knowledge online, it is our suggestion and our approach that organizations use that course as one component of a more comprehensive curriculum. So when working with Smarter Solutions, it's been great to leverage their Master Black Belt expertise for coaching and mentoring, as well as their reference materials in the Enterprise Excellence book, to make a blended program to support their clients. If we go on to the next slide, this just talks a little bit about the technology that we offer. Our relationship with Smarter Solutions focuses solely on our e-learning coursework, but we have advanced our product set to include solutions such as data analysis software. So our courses support Minitab, as well as Jump and Design Expert. The courses that we developed with Smarter Solutions are specifically using Minitab, but we also have a product called Engine Room, which is an Excel add-in for data analysis. And we also have developed a discrete event simulation software package called Process Playground. We've entered into the project tracking space. We have a project tracking solution called Traction. We have online testing modules, which is Crucible. And then the final component of our product set are project simulations. So when we talk about blended training and bringing people together in the classroom, the idea is to change the nature of that classroom away from instruction on basic tools and concepts to getting students to understand how all these tools work together in the context of a DMAIC project or a lean project. So not just tool simulations, but how can you use these tools in the discovery of solving problems as part of a project. So we'll spend some time going through the e-learning course, but that is a good background on who we are as an organization.
All right. Thank you, Chris. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the course, and then Chris and I are going to walk through some examples so you can actually see it, get a little bit of experience of it before you fully understand it. The course involves two pieces, the More STEAM and the Smarter Solutions portions, basically where it sources from. What we have included to it and why we think the Smarter Solutions application of More STEAM material provides an excellent course is we've got as Chris said, a book that it's based on, but we have a DMAIC roadmap that every student gets along with the course. They get 4 separate books. One is a project guide that walks you step by step through the entire DMAIC process. So at the end of all the online training, you have got a matching set of published material that you have as a reference for the rest of your life to explain what we did. But it also gives, for those different types of learners, another vehicle to learn from. You've got the activities in the lessons, you've got the watching of the lessons, but you also have the ability to read an excellent text to give you another view. And then we also add in the coaching, which is individualized, so you have an assigned person for you that you can talk to and ask questions of. So there's also a reference textbook. If you can imagine, some of you on this webinar may have seen it, but it's about 2.5 to 3 inches thick. Covers every aspect of a project, from the soft skills, the hard skills, and there's a wonderful set of lessons learned in there about how to do good projects. We use this with specific reading assignments. We also assign homework out of it, so it's somewhat like a class where we send you home at night and the instructor likes class to actually show that you can exercise the tool that you have seen, demonstrate it online, but you can actually go back and do an applied use of that tool on your own. You do get individualized coaching for the black belt, 10 to 12 hours worth that's assigned to you as part of the course. We are also, and I guess it hasn't said it here, but we have a green belt course that really goes online now, that we also have an equivalent online green belt course that gets around 8 hours of coaching. Chris, at some level, understated how well they've done about integrating the software into the Lean Six Sigma program. Our course is really focused on Minitab because of some real advantages that software provides the students. But there are tutorials that are really, I guess, fantastic click-through videos. It's like you're using Minitab on the screen to help you both get the touch and the tactile sense of what Minitab will do. There's articles to read about it. We've referenced stuff from More STEAM and from our reference library for people to read. There's exercise solutions to give the exact screens and screenshots you might use in Minitab to actually solve a question. And probably the last piece we call our DMAIC project guide. I'm understating what this roadmap is. We'll show a little example later, but it's a step-by-step system view of doing a project. But each one has got a text reference, explain what it means. It references you back to the book. Between the course and the reference material, you get a comprehensive set of material to solve problems. Now, the More STEAM part, what we have used them, they have, he said, as Chris said, we're using their eCourse material. But they have a robust learning management system, and now that I've studied all this, that's really the system that manages the lessons. Just having a good e-lesson is not adequate. You must have a good system to both deploy it, review it, manage it, integrate questions in it. So we use their system to manage the course. We've also loaded all of our Smarter Solutions material into their interface to keep the lessons at some level compatible. The interface stays the same, which you will see as we walk through it. They've done a great job, and when he says since 2000, they weren't watching people do it. This course has developed over the time since I've seen it. So there's a little bit of everything to both keep your attention, but also lead you to a path of learning that if you don't get the first approach, you'll get the second or third. A lot of resources, a lot of deep diving into theory, and I know some students don't care about theory. They care about how, not why. But throughout the course, the whys are provided for those who think they want to know it. There's interactive simulations to reinforce the complexity, make it simple. but also detailed lessons in learning. There's a lot of detail in here. You can take a lot of time going through this course. What we're going to do now is turn it over, and Chris is going to start with a demonstration of really the pieces of the course that Moresteam has put in there. And what he's going to speak to is why we chose to partner with Moresteam. He's going to follow back to me to show some of the Smarter Solutions portions of the course, and we'll be ready to go.
Okay. Just a quick check. Rick, do you see my screen?
I see your screen.
All right.
If anybody doesn't see what looks like a web browser screen, please type the note into Mallory. But like all these, there'll be a little bit of delay when they show up. It's part of this GoToMeeting interface. But go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so I'm really going to spend some time over the next 15 minutes just walking you through some of the advanced features of our course, because I think it takes your understanding and being able to see how the course is structured and the interactivity in the course to gain confidence in its ability to be used as a training tool. So we feel that we have a pretty unique offering because our focus isn't on just knowledge transfer. It's about building a level of competency, because people go through black belt and green belt training because they need to execute projects. So an e-learning course needs to be structured in a way not only to, transfer knowledge, but also to build a level of capability and confidence in being able to use the tools. So when I think back to my experience going through black belt training, I don't remember the instructor standing up in front of the class and showing me how to use Minitab. I remember all of the interactive elements of the class, the M&M exercise to teach gauge R&R, the catapult to teach regression and DOE. So for the past 12 years, we've been advancing our curriculum to integrate these types of interactive exercises on basic concepts all the way up to advanced topics like DOE and hypothesis testing and control charts and things of that nature. So that's what I'm going to do today. We're not going to spend time going through all the lessons, but I just want to highlight some of the interactive components of the course so you have a sense of what that is. So right now I'm on the introduction page to the Smarter Solutions Lean Six Sigma Black Belt course. On the left-hand side, you'll see our course, our left navigation bar. This is the anchor point within the course. So regardless of where you are within the course, this left navigation bar is in place. So I'm on the introduction lesson, just providing a basic introduction into this course. You'll see some side links on the right-hand side, some text on the main page, some graphics, and then an audio option. This audio option will actually read the text to you. One thing about our e-learning program versus others is we try to use a lot of different modes of technology to teach. People learn in different ways, so we need to account for that. So as we go through, you'll see that there are presentations, drag and drop exercises, flash demonstrations, interactive graphics, so that you can learn in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to click on the course map on the left, and this is going to provide me with a listing of all of the lessons within the course. So this is kind of the online syllabus for this particular course. And just to give you a little understanding of what was done to develop this course, Moresteam's Lean Six Sigma Black Belt curriculum is about 145 hours of online content. Smarter Solutions has a unique approach to Lean Six Sigma and the DMAIC methodology. So they probably removed about 15 hours worth of our curriculum and integrated their unique concepts into this course. So it's gone from a 143-hour course to approximately 155 hours of online content, with about, I would say, 25 to 30 hours of it being content specifically developed by Smarter Solutions, which integrates the reference materials and homework, as well as unique topics that they cover within their black belt and green belt curriculum. And we'll go through some of those things. So if I scroll through this course outline, you'll see that the course starts out with an introduction to Lean Six Sigma. This is the first session within the course. The way our course is structured is that there are sessions. Sessions are made up of lessons, ending with a quiz. So if we look at the Session 1 Introduction to Lean Six Sigma, this is made up of 17 lessons, ending with a quiz. And this quiz is asking questions about lessons within this session. So the idea behind that quiz is an assessment for the students so they understand the content that's been covered in that session, and gives you the ability to go back and review if you've missed any questions. We also provide in our system the ability for Smarter Solutions Master Black Belts to see how students are progressing and how they're doing on their session quizzes, so that they can intrusively coach and come in and say, I see that you struggled on this particular topic, how can I help? So this is a way that's very unique to allow a master black belt to have insight into your understanding of content, something that's not available in the classroom. So if you're struggling in the classroom and you're not sure that you understand the concept, unless you ask a question, the instructor's not likely to know that you're struggling. Using an e-learning program allows for that visibility. So going back to the content, it does an introduction to Lean Six Sigma, talks about starting a project and leading teams, goes into measure and discusses voice of the customer, measurement and basic statistics, charting process behavior, SPC, and then we start getting into a lot of unique Smarter Solutions content. So baseline predictability and capability, all of these lessons were custom lessons developed by Rick in Smarter Solutions. Then we get into the lean assessment, measurement system analysis, identifying potential root causes, data visualization and hypothesis testing, regression and ANOVA, design of experiments, improve, and control tools. So you can see we have a 154-hour course. So this is the full Lean Six Sigma body of knowledge online. So let's go up back to the beginning of the course, and let's just go into a lesson, and I'll highlight some of the interactive components. So this is a very simple lesson. We're going to click on Input Determines Output. So I'm going to click on the lesson name, and it's going to actually take me to this lesson. This is a very simple concept, the transfer function. Y is a function of X. And on the screen, you can see a couple different things. Like I mentioned before, there's an audio option that's going to read this text to the student. There's an interactive movie. If I hit play, there's audio associated with this movie. It's also an interactive movie where it's going to ask you to click on the screen and identify, well, what are the inputs and what are the outputs? You'll find, well, I'm going to pause that. You'll find within our course we have a lot of deeper dives, so side links that will take you into deeper dives into these particular topics. It gets into formulas and equations and the theories, so you can really dig deep into a concept, as well as there are external links to things that wouldn't be required reading but may be interesting to you if you find this topic enjoyable. And then also practice exercises. So our approach is to integrate as much practice into our program as possible. So even though this is a basic concept such as Y is a function of X, if I click on the practice exercise, it's just a simple drag and drop to allow someone to kind of apply this concept online. So the problem here is if the output of this process is the time to check into a hotel, and on the screen you see a hotel lobby, you drag and drop these inputs to say, yes, they would have an impact on the time to check in, and you get just-in-time feedback whether you're correct or not. So this is a good first pass in being able to apply this tool online to see if you understand how to use this tool. One thing to note is that our course serves up multiple types of industry examples. So this course can be served up for healthcare examples, manufacturing examples, and service examples. So if I was in the healthcare course, instead of it being a hotel lab, it would be an operating room. So with the flip of a switch, we can change examples to support different types of industries. So although this is a simple exercise, this should highlight how within the course we're having the students interact with the content. It can't just be a talking head on a movie. It can't be PowerPoint slides with audio. It has to be engaging. It has to try to build that level of capability. So this is just a simple concept. So as we progress through more advanced concepts in the course, the simulations become more advanced themselves. So I'm going to click on the course to go to another lesson, and I'm going to scroll down to what we call a tool set. So the first two lessons I showed you were just single-page lessons, but if I scroll down to the histogram tool set, this is now a multiple-page lesson. So the tool set now here goes to, instead of a single-page lesson, I have a 5-page lesson that goes overview, example, how, when, and practice. So I give you an overview of this particular tool. If I click next on this below, it'll take me to example. How would a histogram be used? With deeper dives into checking conformance, histogram limitations, and then some interactive gadgets on the screen along with videos to further cover the topic. And then if I click next, I'm going to get to the how page. Well, I'm talking about, well, how would you go about constructing a histogram? How would you do this manually, and how would you do this with software? So here's where we start getting introduced to Minitab and explaining to students how you would actually construct this tool on using Minitab. So you can see it's giving us content about constructing the histogram in Minitab. It's giving me access to a Minitab worksheet and then a Minitab tutorial. So these are interactive demonstrations on how to use Minitab. It's not just a video of someone using Minitab. It actually requires you to click on the screen. So if I open up this tutorial, it starts once I click start, and there's an audio component to it. So right now it's telling you to click on the graph menu. So this will not progress forward until you actually click on the menu. So it goes through the process of going through the menus, explaining the dialog boxes, having you create the graph, doing types of editing to the graph. So these are very difficult to create, but they're also very good in controlling someone's usage through the software as a first pass, explaining how the software works, and then once you feel comfortable with doing that, you can go back to the course, download the worksheet, and practice it yourself. So that's the integration of the software. The next step within a tool set is when. So if I click on the when page up here, this talks about when this tool is used within the DMAIC framework and what critical questions this tool would be used to answer. And then a practice exercise, which goes deeper into here's some data, construct a histogram, answer particular questions. So you can see you can download the data here, and then you go through answering specific questions about the data set and the analysis that you've conducted. Let me click back on the course map, show you some other interactive elements of the course. I'm going to scroll down and find the spaghetti chart, because this is a good example here. So we go down to lean assessment, and I'm going to click the spaghetti chart exercise. So this is a single page exercise, and one thing I want to highlight here is the interactive nature of this exercise, but then how we carry this exercise throughout the course. So here's a simple lesson on spaghetti charts, where we talk about what this tool is, how it's used, how you would go about constructing a spaghetti chart, and then a practice exercise. So I click the practice exercise. It talks about the background of this exercise, the instructions you need to follow, and then the process that needs to be mapped. And then I click here to start the exercise, and then I actually get a workroom that I need to create a spaghetti chart in. So if I follow this process here, the first thing it says is the field technician brings the evidence to the crime lab. So I need to find the field technician. Then step 2 is the evidence room worker logs the evidence and places it into the evidence container. So now I go through and I map this entire process out, and if I click solution, you can see you would create a spaghetti chart, and it would outline how many steps were taken to follow this process. Well, a common tool that you would do after this would be, creating a cellular process. So here we're giving the students the opportunity to build and apply and use this tool in an online environment, so that when they go to their project, they say, okay, I remember doing that. Now I can try to apply it here on my project. So we're not only teaching them the tool, we're teaching a level of capability. So let me close this out, and I'm going to click back on the course map and go down into the improve phase.
Now, what Chris is going to be showing here is that this is part of the black belt course, but not part of the green belt course. We don't really do part of this for the design of experiments is not part of a green belt body of knowledge.
So here we get into cellular processing, and this is the tool set again.
Sorry,
so
Chris.
Overview, example, how and in practice. So overview of what cellular processing is, different examples of how this can be used, and then a how page, where we talk about how you can use the DMAIC framework to implement a cellular processing. And then we go to our practice exercise. Now we're building off of this example that we created when learning about spaghetti charts, and now we need to create a cellular process here. So you just drag and drop these elements to create a cellular process. There's 3, there's 4, there we go. So then I can click solution, and it obviously shows me the finished product. But this is just an example of how this course is interactive and how it's building this level of capability online. One last thing I want to show you is the interactive nature of the DOE components of the course. So I'll close these out, click on the course map. And I will scroll down to the DOE section of the course. It should be on Improve 1. So the approach that we're taking here is we're giving an introduction to design of experiments. We're teaching various types of DOE methods. And then at the end, we're giving different types of simulations where you learn the problem you're trying to solve, and then you need to choose the type of design you need to use to solve this problem. So when you think about a traditional black belt training and you have a catapult and things like that, how do you replicate that online? Well, we've done it through these simulations. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 simulations within this particular course. So the most common one is this design an experiment to save the kingdom. So this is kind of a play on the catapult, right? So we have this simulation. So I'm just going to deploy the trebuchet. So instead of a catapult, we have an online trebuchet. So the problem you're trying to solve is to shoot this trebuchet at the castle. And you have these particular factors. So in this case, the response is the distance the boulder travels to the castle, and the inputs are discrete. So we have boulder material, boulder weight, sling material, sling length, counterweight, release prong, time of day. And there's an error factor built into this model. But this is an example of how you're able to replicate those interactive elements in the classroom in an online environment. So some people, if they're taking this course on their own, they would go through these simulations on their own. But if you're in an organization where you have a couple people going through this course, this is something where people can come together for a few hours and work on together. So they go through, they have to answer questions, they have to determine what type of design would I need to use to solve this problem. They would, create their DOE, collect the data, and then figure out the best treatment combination to be able to hit the castle. So hopefully those demonstrations, and throughout the course, you're going to see all kinds of interactive elements like this. I can spend hours going through and showing you all those things, but we're limited by the length of this webinar. So now let's just talk about the integration of the Smarter Solutions reference materials and content within the course.
Just a minute, Chris.
Yep.
Mallory?
Chris, we have a question. You mentioned that the examples provided in the material can be customized based upon different industries such as service, etc. One question is, are there R&D examples? Or what are the various types of customization on those examples do you offer?
So the course, we call them flavors. So the course can have various flavors.
Okay.
They can have manufacturing, healthcare, transactional, and financial services.
Okay,
So,
great. Thank you.
And then to speak
and if I may, after Master Black Belt in an R&D business, the transactional model is the appropriate one for an R&D business. Because generally we don't apply the Lean Six Sigma tools to the innovation. In an R&D business, the Lean Six Sigma is generally applied to the support organizations that drive and support the actual research. The actual design for Six Sigma area is at some level like the research side, but most you would use the transactional one to fit that R&D mold.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So now I just quickly wanted to go over the integration of the Smarter Solutions reference material and some of their content. So what Rick and his team had done was developed intro lessons to each session as well as a wrap-up for each session to kind of bring everything to the context of how is it aligned with Smarter Solutions approach as well as bringing in exercises from their reference books. So if you look at this session as well as all of the other sessions, you'll see an IEE overview or introduction as well as a wrap-up for this particular phase. So if I click on this particular lesson, this is content that Smarter Solutions developed in our system. So it has the same look and feel, and then it integrates potential pre-lesson reading assignments, reference materials that are part of the books, deeper dives, and definitions that are aligned with their approach and methodology. And then once a student would complete this session, so let me go back to the course map. So they would obviously navigate using the next buttons below in a linear fashion. So they would go through all of these lessons here, and then they would come upon the phase wrap-up. And this would provide some requirements, required reading, homework assignments that you would need to do as part of the book, and then also links to particular templates that they use. Rick, is there anything else you would want to add to that?
I think we haven't talked a little about the quiz that goes on at the end of each section that's integrated into the module where it's assigned. And I guess the last piece is if you could go back to the course map and show the section on the baselining, and then we'll just turn it back over to me.
Okay.
What we really did, and if it wasn't clear in what Chris said, is we really took the Moresteam material and not only replaced some of it and made a lot of our original material, we also reordered an awful lot of their material to fit our teaching sequence. And I'll show a little roadmap of what it follows. But we have, the big part that we inserted is one of the key differentiators between the Smarter Solutions Lean Six Sigma program and some of the others, is the concept of baseline your process. We have a whole section here that talks about the writings that you might have seen from Forrest Freifogel, but it teaches what we call the 30,000-foot reporting method. But it walks through, if you can read it, there's examples out of the textbook. We both walk you through, give you solutions. But I want you to see that this is really both the standard tools, the Smarter Solutions tools, but the sequence of 14 groupings of lessons follow the 9 phases in our DMAIC roadmap. Now, if you can transfer it back to me then. And thank you for that introduction, Chris. All right, it says show my screen. Now, what I have here is this is one of the links that you pull out of the course, but I wanted to show that one of the things we've done is as Chris alluded to it, we've integrated their wonderful tools into our sequence or system of improvement, provided to you with the classes, and it's actually outside of the firewall for the training course, so you have access to this after the class ends. But this is our entire roadmap that you can walk through. You go through, you just click through it on your own screen. We have a roadmap that we follow with every step of the training. This is the define phase. You would go to the measure and the project plan next. We've got branches. The project guide, which I can't really show you here, is it has these maps, and with every one of these process steps with a discussion of what it includes, what you should consider, plus if there's Minitab commands, they're all provided, because for many of us that learn Lean Six Sigma, when you're in Minitab, you forget some of the commands. So we've got through this a reference back to Minitab, back to the textbook to keep you aligned with this whole process by the time you finish the course. So this roadmap, as I can click through it again, exists for every student after the fact. I think that's what we're going to show you on the course. If you have specific questions, again, please type them in through the interface. We were going to use screenshots, but I think it's important. What you actually saw and what Chris was showing is, by Chris's recommendation, oh, go ahead, Mallory. Oh, I thought you had a question. We wanted to show you really the speed that it popped up on the screen, too. That was not sped up. If you experienced the course, that's what you would have actually seen. I'm going to move on with the presentation. Prerequisites. You have to have internet access. Using the Microsoft Internet Explorer is recommended for a few of the graphics, but actually any of the standard browsers will work for it. To use a Smarter Solutions flavor of this, you do need Minitab, because we expect you to be able to solve it. And the advantage of Minitab, it allows you not to have to be a statistician to do as good a work as one. I think Minitab is the most common used software in all of Lean Six Sigma training throughout the world, and it's a very good software. You also need Adobe Reader on there. There are Adobe products that you use, some PDFs to read, plus there's some interactive PDFs to go through. And most of the templates come out in either Excel or Minitab worksheets. So you need an Excel or, like, there's other products that will read Excel files. Mallory?
Is the course compatible for a Mac user?
Yes, everything will work with the exception of Minitab is not compatible to a Mac user. Everything else, I'm a Mac user personally at home, and I've been through it. Being that it uses standard internet products, it'll work. It strikes me as there's one or two graphics that didn't resolve with quite the same lineup, but everything else worked well. The one problem is you can't do any of the Minitab. Well, you can't use Minitab unless you use either their boot camp to go build a partition to run a Windows program. But all the Flash stuff and all will work just fine on there. Hey. Chris, do you have more input on that one?
No, that's all accurate.
Okay. I mean, I went home and played with it, so I know it worked. To finish the course, you need to run a project. It's one of the differentiators in a lot of these self-paced online training courses is you don't get the applied nature of it. Chris talked about how the exercises and the lessons drive the applied nature of the course. We also have a requirement that you can demonstrate the use of these tools in your organization by running a project. Included in the course is the one-on-one individualized coaching with your project and the certification of it. Now, the prerequisites for a student is, well, you have to be analytic, you have to be able to use a computer, but that's really about it. There's no pre-knowledge or early class you must take to go through this. We have the expectation you're starting all this stuff from scratch. So you really don't have to know anything other than Lean Six Sigma is the title of a course you're taking to get through this. How it works. Now here's here's the marketing side. There's the hours. It explains live coaching sessions. Generally these are scheduled. You may do screen sharing, but it's a one-on-one with a senior master black belt, and that's who we hire here. You get 12 months from the start to finish the online portions of the course. The price is listed versus what we have $12,000 for stand-up training for a black belt. So it's a significant lower. Now, one on the business side, the nice thing about this, though, you can pace it to your own. If your project speeds up, you learn a little quicker. You can slow down to match your project, which is an advantage you don't get in a stand-up training course. And the Greenbelt one's got a slightly less amount of coaching because you cover less material, and you can see the prices accordingly. Mallory?
I just wanted to add that those are 4 required coaching sessions. However, it does include a block of coaching time. So you can use your Master Black Belt as a resource beyond those required sessions that can be via email, phone, on the computer using something similar to this webinar. There are other times available to you that if you get somewhere in your project that you need help with, if it's actually about the content of the course, those resources are available to you during that entire year that you have access to the course.
Thank you, Mallory. Since I had not said that, our estimate is about 10 to 12 hours of coaching time you would get with a black belt, around 8 to 10 for a green belt. So that the 4 are required because we've learned over time that that's the point we need to touch every student and have a deep discussion to make sure there are not misconceptions. The rest, most of it's done as remote coaching. But I find that most students still have phone calls throughout there because it is so nice if I don't think I understand something to pick up the phone and call and say, do I get it? And that's a real advantage of having that one-on-one contact. I think we promised within a day response on an email. Most of it's quicker. Now for certification. I've always had a belief walking into these online courses didn't require as much of you. And when people call in wanting an online course, they're really just trying to get a certification. They don't really care to learn it. Before Forrest Breifogel, our owner, would allow us to go in this direction, we had to make, I guess, a deal that a person leaving this online course would be equally capable as someone who went through the stand-up training. So right now our certification requirements are identical to the people that go through the other courses. You must complete the whole course. Both courses cover nearly an identical body of knowledge. And that's why we've added so much to the Moresteam course, because there's a lot of things we've learned over time that are not in the standard black belt body of knowledge we've added to the online course. You must complete your required coaching. Those 4 sessions are required no matter what. You don't have to use the other ones, but if you don't complete those, you'll never get certified. At that point, completion of the course and the coaching, you will get a completion certificate that said you've completed the training. Upon completing of a project, which is really the demonstration of applying the skills, you will receive a Smarter Solutions certification. If you were taking, and some of you on this webinar have taken our stand-up course, that's identical to what we expect. There is no different expectation on your ability to apply the tools for this course as you would be for stand-up course. Leads into our next question. Got to collect data if you're doing Lean Six Sigma. Which is really about expectation. What did you expect to see in a discussion of an online Lean Six Sigma course? Is this about what you expected, less, or more? Please answer it. Mallory will post the answers as soon as we get going. You should have a different screen pop up now. So please take your time and enter. I know what my hope for your answer is. All right. As expected is winning right now, but a bit more is following up close behind. If we get a couple late entries, it might take a winner. But if you got just about a few seconds here and you'd answer. Mallory, will you post it? What you see is just under half of you says about the same, but a significant amount. If I was drawing a Pareto chart and a chi-square test, those would be significantly higher bars. But we would say, I'm glad that a lot of people thought this was a little bit more than you assumed you'd get out of an online course, and I appreciate that. It's been difficult through all these iterations and over the last 6 months to put together a product that we thought would give you an equal experience, as is the title of this webinar, to stand up Lean Six Sigma training. Thank you for that, Mallory. An additional opportunity. We found that one of the problems with all Lean Six Sigma courses, especially the ones that are combined with people from other companies, is that you walk away from class and you're done. So we're going to be offering free of charge. I mean, you have to travel on your own. For anybody who goes through this program, we're going to have a 3-day conference in Austin for all of the students and possibly some of our other ones. We're going to have guest speakers on key things. We're going to hold it at a hotel. There'll be opportunities to present projects. We'll have discussion of tools outside of the standard body of knowledge. We may also put in a little skills training on stuff that people like to hear twice, and a lot of open discussions about the directions of Lean Six Sigma. But I think the biggest reason to come to this is really those green letters at the bottom. It's Texas, and it's January. Now, if you live in Minneapolis, Anchorage, Alaska, Albany, New York, you'll see there's a real advantage to coming here in January, which might be 80 to 90 degree days and sun. But also, you'll see the CEO and the staff of our company. And again, the only thing you pay for this is to get here and get a hotel room. We're not charging anybody any attendance fee. But this is something that, I mean, I used to be a Lean Six Sigma teacher at a company, and now it's a consultant, and that's one of the big things we miss in this public training is you don't get the community that you get. We're trying to create some of that. So that's an opportunity for you and for people to go through the class. So I'm going to wrap this up. And you see this course is at the 4th PDCA or improvement cycle on self-paced learning, and we think we might have got it right this time. There is always ways to learn, but we think this is a great program enough to actually make it public. You've seen the basis for putting it together, our roadmap. We've talked about the excellent tools that Moresteam brought to the table and how we've integrated that online stuff into our reference material. Certification, and we've got a little bit of a wrap-up. Chris, would you have anything to add?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We have a few minutes here for the final questions. Mallory will read the ones that are in queue. You still have time to type them in. Mallory?
This question, I believe, Chris, you may be able to answer this a little bit better from the technology side, but is there a minimum mark required on the quizzes for completion?
No, the session quizzes within our course, there are no minimum requirements because the idea behind the session quizzes is an assessment for the student, not an assessment to pass the program. So the idea is that those session quizzes are asking questions about all of the topics covered in that session. And there's a lot of adult learning principles that we applied to those session quizzes. So for example, if you get a question wrong on a topic, we'll give you a second chance question on that topic, as well as a link back to that lesson to relearn it. So the idea is that if you try to answer a question and you struggle to answer the question, you have the ability to go back and review the contents to better understand it. So it's a way to identify, do I truly understand this topic? If not, let's go back and review it. Now, some people love to have great quiz scores. So at the end of a session quiz, if you don't like your scores, you do have the ability to reset them, but there's nothing in the course that says you need to get 70 or 80% on the session quizzes to pass.
Right.
And just to reiterate that your MBB coach will be able to see those scores, and so they will be able to, in the coaching sessions, follow up and address any areas that may be weak, kind of help reintroduce tools maybe in a different way so that that learning is continued rather than as a grade for completion.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and what you may not realize is that's the same thing we use quizzes in our stand-up course for. The quizzes are another check of understanding that we use as a coaching guide between sessions. So we're using it for the same purpose in this course.
Yeah.
So
for
there'll be no great anxiety with this course. Next, Mallory.
What are the start dates for the course?
Now there is the funnest part of this course. The start date is now. What you find is, as Chris mentioned, ASQ is one of their partners, and they've got a number of, they work with some of the best companies around, but the ASQ one has start dates. Because you have to start taking the course and be prepared at so much of the course to appear in person at some location for a week of training. We have done a real effort and added so much additional coaching to avoid the requirement of a wave of training. You get to start the day you choose to start. You finish on the day you choose to finish, as long as it's within a year. And you get to pace as you do with your project. So if something comes up, you delay a week, that's up to you. But there is no group training requirement in this course. So you really start at your own schedule.
Okay, and our next question, what opportunities will there be for students to be coached on topics that are not covered in the online material?
I think it's a guarantee at some level that that will happen, because this is a coaching about the class, but it's also coaching about your project to help you complete it. There is no black belt curriculum that covers everything. We also teach a stand-up master black belt class that has topics you would never see in a black belt course or a green belt course. Our master black belts are directed that if that need comes up, you will get on-the-spot training to do it yourself if we think that's the right thing, or we'll do it for you and explain what we did. But any topic is an opportunity to coach as we go through the scheduled hours for you.
Okay, and our next question is a Smarter Solutions Black Belt certification equivalent to ASQ certification?
Boy, what a tough one. The right answer is it's much better. Now, that's not, I guess that's opinion. The ASQ, if you've ever taken an ASQ exam, they are multiple choice questions. I'll tell you right now, there's very important parts of Lean Six Sigma that cannot be tested in a multiple choice question. The fact that we have questions along the way, coaching on the ones you miss, and a requirement to demonstrate a project that's completed under a coaching environment, our certification is actually more complete than you might get with ASQ. The downside of it is, you pay extra for that. Now, ASQ is probably one of the better known places that provides a certification. You will find, I think, companies in Asia seem to like to see Americans with that certification. Across the U.S., it's not as mandatory. They'll take the ones that they know are good. I find that people in this industry know who does a good job. And in Europe, they sort of like it. They don't mind other ones. But I'll tell you, you'll get people that leave our courses, many of them choose to take the ASQ anyway. And our body of knowledge in this course covers nearly everything in the ASQ body of knowledge, with the exception of the history of Six Sigma, which you just pick up on your own. And I don't think we asked you what the 5 S Japanese words that are the 5 S's and a couple things like that ASQ has. But it's a lot about your organization, what they choose to respect. Mallory?
We have a couple questions that aren't going to get answered at the time. We will follow up with you if we haven't answered your question. So please feel free to submit those. We'll get those answered and follow up with you. The one last question we are going to cover in this time is there a Master Black Belt offering?
Right now, I don't believe Moresteam or Smarter Solutions covers a Master Black Belt class that's self-paced. We're talking about it now, but most Master Black Belts aren't trained with classes. They're trained through experiential exercises within a business. So there's a lot more opportunity there. The hard part is a Master Black Belt class is not as much a tools class as a business class. It's about managing. Our course covers providing of stand-up training. It covers individual coaching. It covers managing a Six Sigma program, doing deployments, along with an expansion of the analysis tools. The problem is business courses don't align well to the online experience because it's more about discussion, open discussion, and experiential things. Most business schools are actually moving away from an online self-paced training, while IT and technical areas are moving into them for that reason. So it's on our discussion, but we don't have one, and we don't even know of one to this date. I think. All right, once you exit, I guess we're done. Once you exit this, please fill out the survey. We do look at all of our data. And there's a couple questions that will follow on the data collection about what your thoughts of online training are. We appreciate your time. Again, you will get an email in a day or two that will give you a link back to watch us again or share it with one of your friends. Thanks a lot, everybody, and thank you, Chris, for joining us.
Thank you.